Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Channel show. So as you can tell from the title and the thumbnail, this is going to be a book review, and this is a series I'm going to be starting where with every video, if I feel inclined to do a review of a specific book, that's what this series is. And it's going to be a regularly updated, as in, like, I'm not going to do this for every single book that I read, just because that would be, I feel, a little bit much for me, at least timeline wise, schedule wise, and just the books I read. So it's more so just going to be, if there's a book I want to talk about a little bit more in a video form, that's the book I'll do in this series, in this type of a video. So this will go up on Wednesdays. It'll be like, this specific video will go up on the last Wednesday of the week. So as I'm jeez, I'm trying to figure out when I mentioned things. So I have another video coming out in November where I talk about this, but once November rolls around, I will be taking a break from doing monthly Thursday videos. Actually, let me double check real quick. Actually, sorry, I misspoke. It's gonna start in October, but I mentioned that in November as well. So from once October comes around, monthly Thursdays will be on hiatus to just see if that's something I want to continue doing, if I want to reframe. But yeah, so I mentioned that in my Book Tech Tuesdays video for November, but just because I thought I was going to shoot something for October, but I've kind of decided that with, well, it's September. With October, do I have something for it? Let's see, just checking my schedule. Okay, so I do have something for September for this month, which is tomorrow. But once next month rolls around, October, I'm going to be taking a pause from monthly Thursdays videos, and then I mention that again in November. So with that, I kind of wanted to have some more buffering out content, and at first this was going to be a Friday video, but I feel like in terms of me reading and reviewing the book in this video, at least pushing it out until like November or even December felt a little too far out, especially because this will be going up on the last Wednesday of the month. So that's why it's going to be the last Wednesday of the month, and just as we go along with time and schedules. So that's kind of where this came from and why. So yeah, with all of that said, with all of those out of the way, let's get into this book review. And as you can tell from the title and the thumbnail, it is for Disney Adults by Wolfe, exploring and falling in love with a magical subculture. So this one overall, I think I give this like a 4.5, 4.75 ratings on Fable and the StoryGraph app, on those two apps. And that's largely because I feel like it could have been more Disney rounded, as in it could have focused on more of Disney as a whole entity and why there are Disney adults in that sense, and also like Disney parks as another entity, again, like, and how Disney adults interact with the parks as one thing, and then with Disney the company and the movies as kind of like a separate thing. Because you can have merchandise for both. You have merchandise for the parks, you have merchandise for the movies, and those can and do overlap a lot, but they are different, or they are kind of different entities. You don't have rides for every single movie. Like, what's a movie I can think of that doesn't have a ride? It's not coming to the top of my head right now. Like Jungle Book doesn't have a ride. Don't rides at parks. But let's look up. Okay, so let's see. Hunchback of Notre Dame, Emperor's New Groove, Zootopia, although there is like a Zootopia section, I think, in Shanghai Disneyland. Tarzan, there was the Tarzan tree that's more of an attraction. Mulan, Mary Poppins, Encanto, Hercules, Rescuers Down Under. There's a lot of movies that do not have rides at the park, or do not have attractions in general at the park. So that's why it's like there is some overlap, but it's for the movies that don't have attractions or rides at one or more of the parks. So yeah, I think we could have looked at, I think this could have looked at Disney adults within Disney the company and the movies, and then Disney adults within the parks, and kind of looked at both, because there is like a Venn diagram circle, like the Venn diagram graph, where it's like the middle is like the company, the parks, movies, but there's also people who mainly interact with like the movies and that merchandise and that field, and then there's largely people who mainly do, well, maybe not mainly, but more so focus on the rides. So I feel like we could have had that balanced out a little bit more. Ooh, this would be a fun video. Interesting. I just found a link that was like attractions, rides that were never built. So, and like the thing is also too, I think it might be coming to Disneyland, but it's for sure coming to Walt Disney World. There's like the Villains Land, where it's like those more are characters, like, well, they do connect back to the original movies, but those do, the Villains Land is seeming to be more character heavy rather than movie heavy. So anyway, that's where I think it could have been a little bit more specific and differentiating. But this book, let's see, I know, let's see, it is in total 255 pages. That's including the notes, including the little quiz. Let's see, there's a little quiz at the end, or not quiz, but a little, yeah, it's a little quiz. So not including like the notes, 255 pages. Right. Including the quiz, but not including the notes, it's 247. And then not including any of this last little bit, which is acknowledgements, the quiz, and then the notes, it is 237 pages. So maybe it was just in an effort to keep it short. That's why they were more specific to Walt Disney World and the theme park goers. But like, again, that's not a bad thing. It's just, I feel like we could have maybe had a more broad view as to what a Disney adult is in the sense of the Walt Disney World, well, in the sense of the Walt Disney Company, and then looked more at then specific parks. Maybe we'll get another one where it's like more Disneyland centered, because I'd like to see that, because it's like this one is more Disney World focused, and again, that's not a bad thing. It's just, as like, I want to go to Walt Disney World at some point. For me, that's not going to happen anytime soon, but I've never been to Walt Disney World, so there were points where I was just like, okay. It's kind of the same words. It's kind of the same with this book. I love Disney's Magic Kingdom. Like with this one, this is Walt Disney World, so it's like there were parts of it I could relate to, parts of it I couldn't. Just because, again, I didn't grow up on Walt Disney World or with Walt Disney World. I grew up with Disneyland. I'm very protective of Disneyland and our castle here. Like, very protective. I'll be nice about it because that's what Walt Disney would have wanted, but like, I'm very protective. But anyway, back onto the subject of this book. So yeah, I mean, maybe it's just because I don't have, like, I do have a personal connection to Disney World because of my connection to Disney and the Disney parks, but I don't have as deep of a connection to the other parks because I haven't been to the other parks. So that's why it's like that's kind of why I wish there was that broader view of the parks and Disney adults and the movies at some point within this book. But again, maybe we'll get a second one that like maybe it'll be like one per park or something like that, at least for the US parks. But I would like to see more of like a view as to how Disney adults interact with the different parks. So maybe we'll get a Disneyland one. So it's just like, I mean, I kind of doubt it because there's no indication in like the subtitle that it was leaving that door open for a second book. But again, it's like, I would kind of like to see that, like I said. So overall, like I said, I gave this like a 4.5, 4.75. And it was mainly because I kind of felt like I needed that broader look at the Disney company and the Disney parks as individual entities and not like the specific parks. So that was kind of why I knocked it down a little bit. But overall, this was a very fun read, a very entertaining and somewhat enlightening read. For me personally, I've always kind of known this about Disney adults. I'm a self-proclaimed Disney adult. Like, I'm a Disney adult, like whatever people call it, like that's me. And let's see, when is this going? 1 second. I have a video coming out in, what is it? Oh, I have a video already up. 1 second. Okay, so I was just double checking the name of the video that I did, and it was inspired by this book before I read it. I done it before I read this. And that video is the subculture of Disney adults and why we're not as bad as you think. So I have that link down below in the description, and in that one I kind of talk about like at least my personal experience with being a Disney adult, being someone who loves Disney, and it's kind of touched upon in this book a little bit, like not as much as I would have personally liked, but you get it in some of the personal stories from Disney adults. And 1 second, I just saw a section. 1 second, I'm gonna try to find it. Okay, so I found it and we'll go back to it in a little bit. But essentially, like what I talk about in that video is how a large part of it, like this book says, it's escapism. It's a way for us to just leave reality behind and any problems behind. Now, like this book mentions, like there are times where we get some really big news while we're at the park. Like one person had shared how she was told that she had lost her grandmother while she was at Epcot, which was kind of, in a way, the best way for this person to receive that news, because like it was a happy place and it was just like, okay, this is big news. But like it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, at least when I say it, it's like, okay, this is big news. Like I have a lot of big feelings, I just can't let it control my day. And Disney is like the epitome of that. Being at a Disney theme park is the epitome of that kind of mentality, where it's like, okay, I'm really tired, but I'm at Disneyland, so I can't let myself be in a bad mood because I'm really tired while I'm at a Disney park. So it's that kind of mentality where it's like, okay, going back to like that story sort of, where it's like, okay, this is big news, I'm having big emotions because of it, because adults, Disney adults or otherwise, adults can have big emotions too and not know how to fully deal with them in the moment. So it's like, okay, this is big news, I'm having big emotions, I need to not let it control my day right now. I'm at a place where it can't control my day. I'm at a place where it can't control my mindset for the day. So it's kind of like that, you know, that kind of thinking with Disney adults, where it's like we can leave our problems behind even if we get news at a park. Like when I was at Universal Studios, I think, was it 2022 or 2023, I think. 2023, no, it was 2022. No, yeah, 2020-ish. I can't quite remember. It's been a blur. But we had gotten news that one of our buddies passed because my sister and I were there with a really good family friend, and it was his first time being at, well, it was his first time in a while being at Universal Studios, and our mom didn't come with us, and she took one of our bunnies to the vet, and the bunny passed away at the vet. So it's kind of like that situation where we're in a theme park that we enjoy going to, like a Disney theme park or a Universal Studios. It's like we can kind of just be in the moment, be in the atmosphere of what that specific theme park does and what that specific studio and company has done. So it's kind of like that. Like, even if it's big news, it's like, okay, I can breathe, I can still have a good time here. So that's kind of the thinking. At least for me, that's a large part of the thinking, and I know that, or I'm pretty sure that a lot of other Disney adults think the same way as me when it comes to that, or think similarly to me. Now let me see, excuse me. So this is chapter 6, and this is in chapter 6, When You Love Something Too Much. And this starts on page 167. So slight spoilers, but it's more like a biography, memoir type deal, like a pseudo memoir biography. But this section is When It Goes Too Far. So just to read a little bit of it. Okay. So AJ is talking in this section about like her personal fitting into the when it goes too far kind of a situation, and being able to step back or not step back when you love something too much, when it goes too far. Because as with, it's not just with Disney adults, but with anything, there can be a point where you love something too much and you're putting so much effort and energy and emotions into something, and that can get to be too much. And that's with anything. It's not just with Disney adults. You do see the extremes with Disney adults, and those are heavily focused on because of the upsurge of Disney content creators post-COVID. But in this, AJ, I'm gonna read a little bit. So here's where I fit into all of this. I often get asked why I started a Disney-centric website and brand. Typically, I'll say something like, I really wanted to read a website about all the wonderful food at Walt Disney World, and that site didn't exist. So I created the website I always wanted to visit. Also, I wanted to help people like me who are trying to get the biggest bang for their buck on Disney trips. But another reason I usually don't discuss is that I was addicted to Disney myself. My life at one time revolved around my next Disney World trip. I dissected Disney guidebooks and had Disney planning spreadsheets. I spent every one of those commutes on the Staten Island ferry, creating and recreating my trip itinerary, and ate every evening and weekend in bed reading Disney message boards. And I went into $17,000 of credit card debt while booking trips to the most magical place on earth. While this is embarrassing, I take comfort in the fact that I truly believe you've been through a similar situation in my life. Maybe you didn't go into debt like I did, but you've all had obsessions. Whether that was a love interest or a crush whose text messages you read and reread, or a particular TV show whose next season you can wait to binge, or maybe a musical artist you overspent to see in a concert. You've undeniably had something that you let to consume your nearly every waking thought. Yeah, so we've all been there, and it's even like with sports fans too, like I talk about in that video that I did, where it's like they'll spend so much time and effort and energy and emotion into being fans of their preferred sports team, of their preferred sports team, of their preferred sport. They'll spend so much time, and then you see like so many people like getting jerseys that these athletes wore, which is perfectly fine. Like I get my Spirit jerseys, but it's like you don't hear anyone getting on their cases about that. It's only like Disney dots. So it's like that's where like outlook perspective, it's like it's a little bit slanted, because like we all know that sports fans have been around, that they've been doing that, and Disney fans, Disney adults have been doing the same thing, but it's just garnered more attention since social media and since COVID, when we were all kind of inside and missing Disney, missing going to the parks and binging the Disney movies. So it's just garnered more attention with the rise of Disney influencers and Disney content creators. So to read a little bit more, AJ writes later on in this specific section, therapist Greg Rubin notes, Disney is this magical place, and it's for escapism, and it's for innocence and purity and connection and fantasy and hopefully happy endings. A tremendous amount of effort at, say, the theme parks is put into the protection of continuity and preserving that to give visitors a predictable experience, exactly what they want. So, and then she continues to say, but is this where we start to worry about the people who never grow up, those who are not dealing with the difficulties of adulthood in a way that will bring them safely past the trials? Is this actually all of us in one way or another? And like, in a way, I would say yes, but like, again, like, I feel like this is very interchangeable with any fan base, whether it's entertainment or sports, or like, if you can make like a fan base out of something, then at some point you have these kinds of questions for some of the fans, especially the adults. Like, even though you don't have like the, oh, they're not growing up with like sports fans or NFL fans, even though you don't really have that question, it's like, okay, you can still ask some similar questions, like, okay, are they dealing with their responsibilities in a healthy way, or are they just trying to escape their responsibilities by focusing on their next NFL game, or their next FIFA game, or the next NBA game? It's like, these same questions, like slightly altered, slightly differently worded, can be applied to most things that have a fan base. Movie studios other than Disney, sports, other entertainment, clothing, books, like, it can be applied to almost anything. So that's where I think it's like, at least, this isn't really a critique on this book, but that's where I think like we need to start recognizing, like, okay, the problem isn't Disney adults, the problem is how we deal with our problems and approach any problems or challenges or difficulties we have. It's not just that Disney adults do this, it's that we all do it at some point with a lot of different things. So it's not just Disney and going to the theme parks and watching the movies and getting merchandise from Disney. That's the real question here, I think. So, yeah. But I do talk a lot about this in that other video that I mentioned. So, if you would like to go read this, I've included a couple of links, non-Amazon links down below in the description that you can refer to. So, again, if you want to read this is a very enlightening read. Maybe, hopefully, we'll get a Disneyland version, or like another Disney park version, or just Disney in general, because I feel like those would also be fun reads and also bring like a little bit of more nuance to the Disney adults subculture. So this is where I'm going to end this video. If you have any thoughts or opinions, please let me know down below in the comments. Let's keep it civil. I'm a Disney adult. I will still listen and respect to different opinions. But so let's keep any discussions in the comments civil. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.